Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, welcome to New Life Live. Steve Arterburn here, joined by two giants in the world of giantry. It is Becky Brown and Chris Williams. Hi, guys.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going well. Hey, I was telling folks this story that happened. I was telling them I was speaking out at the Trinity Church in Mesa, Arizona last weekend. And this woman's walking along, and she sees this old guy up on the porch, and he's in his rocker. You know, nice-looking old man. And she just says, "Hey, excuse me, sir, you look so happy. Could I ask you what is your secret to a happy old life?" And he said, "Well, sure, I'd be happy to share it with you." He said, "Every day I drink about a fifth of whiskey. I eat at least a dozen donuts and a whole bag of potato chips. And I never, ever, ever exercise. I think that's really important." She said, "Wow, that's just an incredible way to live. How old are you?" And he said, 26. So, you know, we will pay the price of however we're living. You can't fake it. It shows up. And so if you're struggling with, well, maybe after 3 weeks into the new year, these revolutions that you were hoping for, they died, come join us for Lose It for Life. You know, if you have these obsessions, that's what we have to deal with, not the compulsive behavior. Deal with the obsession and the unresolved emotion that's causing it, and you have hope. Deal with the pain, the trauma, the things way down below the things that we're seeing. That's what we're going to be dealing with. And it's a 6-week extensive. First, you give us a Saturday. And then, after that, it fits in your schedule for 6 weeks. And we've never done an extended experience like this, but I'm really excited. I think it's just going to be one of the best things we've ever done.
Steve, when you guys were running the workshop, the one-day workshop, I had received a call on the show the Monday after. As we're talking about it, this woman who had just struggled with her weight her entire life and with her relationship with food, and especially sugar, she said, "Not only did I have a plan to follow to help lose and keep the weight off, but she said, most importantly, I lost 20 pounds of pain off of my soul."
There you go. Yeah.
And that was just music to my ears.
Well, that's music to my ears. And, you know, if anybody thinking that it's really all about the food is so mistaken. And you can go change the way you eat for a little bit of time. And then when you get back to eating the way you used to eat, then it all comes back. And what we try to do is give you changes that you can maintain for a lifetime. Why else would you want to do anything if you weren't going to do it for the rest of your life? Because if you don't, then, well, it's not going to do any good. And if you don't enjoy your life, if the changes are just too much, well, that's going to be a problem. So
and you know, Steve, we've got a great special going on before the end of January. You can save a whole lot if you register. If you're interested at all, give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to somebody about this. We have had the privilege of walking people through Lose It for Life for so many years, and it's amazing to hear them, 15 years later, that they're still keeping the weight off and enjoying a full and free life. We want that for you.
Yeah. And one of the saddest things is people get bariatric surgery and then they override it and they end up needing it or wanting it again. We can help you with that. And we've got a lot of people that are better that prove that. So come join us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
We have been estranged off and on for 10 years or more, and he has a lot of grievances and anger and bitterness and hatred toward me.
We've been having little disagreements here and there about grandmom's input.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Fearless Parenting, Doing Life with Your Adult Children. It's an online workshop we're holding on Saturday, January 29th. Jim Burns, longtime friend and colleague, he's president of Homework, and he's going to join me.
You invested 2 decades of your life with your children, and you've got to figure out how do you reparent and reinvent the relationship. It's not easy, but it's possible, and it can be better than ever.
With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day online workshop will provide practical advice and hopeful encouragement for navigating the parent-adult-child relationship. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Let's go to Charlie, Dallas, Texas. That's where our big old office is, and operations, call center, warehouse, human resources, finance, right there in Big D. Hey, Charlie, how are you today? What's going on?
Oh, I'm okay. I need some help. I have a question. I don't know if I should tell you a little bit about it. Maybe you can just ask me. I'll just ask you the question.
Okay.
So, how do I deal with my brother who's living a homosexual lifestyle? Me being a believer, knowing that that he's being a scoffer and he's not caring about how we were brought up. And I have small children, and I don't know how to tell him, or if I even should tell him. But like yesterday, he bought them some gifts, and I just don't know how to tell him. If you continue to live this lifestyle, I'm not going to tell my boys, hey, Uncle, he's a great guy. You should listen to him. He's a good guy. And I don't not want him to be around either, because I don't want to show my sons that, it's okay when you get older, you don't have to care about your brother, so I'm kind of in between. I don't really know how to deal with it. So I don't know what to do.
Well, here's the part I like, is that you finished by saying, I didn't want to show my kids that when you get older, it's okay to not care about your brother. I think that's really important, because you know what? It is right. It isn't okay.
Right.
Well, I'm going to let Becky start. I'll finish up, because I've got some, I am where you are, and I have some thoughts about this, and I've spent a little more than 5 minutes over a lifetime dealing with this. But Becky, why don't you jump in here first?
Well, I think, Charlie, the first place you start is your side of the street. And getting to a place where you accept that this is his life, his choice, and you're going to have to get some resolution. It doesn't mean that you approve, doesn't mean you agree, doesn't mean any of that. But literally, there are so many people in our lives that have different ways of living that don't align exactly with us, and we're called to love. And we're called to be in relationship with them. And I think that's what your desire is. But I hear the anxiety of, just this disconnect. Now, the one thing that you did say is that you're just wondering about how can you grow up in the same house and, have such different responses to life. And the reality is we don't ever grow up in the same house. We all, we're in the same family by name, but his experience and your experience was different. And I think if you really want to connect with him, that's where your focus has to be. You don't have to, I agree with, Steve's going to give you so much more wisdom on this than me, but I really want you to work on your side of the street, settling down that anxiousness inside and moving towards acceptance of someone else's choices.
Yeah, and Becky,
Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, Becky, to that point, it really does start with acceptance. But hear me out. This is one of the most painful things I see out there that block us from acceptance. To your point, Becky, acceptance does not mean we agree with it. It does not mean we like it. It's just that we accept reality and other people and their choices as is. And part of that is we respect how much we can or cannot influence that or change that. And that's where things like the serenity prayer come in very, very handy here. The fear I hear, Charlie, is that you're concerned about the influence that your brother is going to have on his nephews. But I want you to be able to trust primarily, and to Becky's point again, that as your there is no substitute for your fatherhood out there. That you and your wife and the impact and the influence that you will have on your children, it sort of overshadows everything else. Your children are growing up, your boys are growing up, like mine are growing up, in a world where these alternative sexualities are going to be a reality. My wife and I are having conversations of like, how do we navigate this, and what age is appropriate, and what exposure is appropriate. All of those sort of things that are very difficult. That, quite honestly, I still need some more wisdom on to be able to give some advice more accurately. But the principle that you always want to come back to, that we need to trust, is godly love.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. What do you know about his childhood that might be different than yours? Anything happened to him, with him, that you're aware of? Has he ever told you about anything?
Yeah, I know that, something happened to him when he was little, yes. And
what?
I know
What
that
happened?
has a lot to do with...
What happened to him?
He was sexually abused.
Okay.
And,
okay, so let me tell you, in my situation, 2 gay brothers, and one living, and one died from AIDS very early on. The difference in me and them, both of them molested by our pastor's son, and by the time I got to that age, we had moved, and that might have happened to me. I wrote a book for my brother called How Will I Tell My Mother? He says, it was that night that things were ignited within him, and that it never, ever went away. So we want to have compassion for him. And you not wanting kids to get gifts from him is not going to change your brother, but it's going to change his view of you and compassion and love. You don't have to spend a lot of time with him, and you don't have to, go out of your way to accommodate him, but letting him give your kids gifts versus using that as a point to make a point about his life, I don't think that's a very good strategy, and I would advise against it. Now, let me tell you one more thing. I paid for an abortion, and I had a promiscuous lifestyle, and people, when I talked about it and I was open about it, people said, well, you shouldn't be open about that. That's going to give your daughter, Madeline, an excuse to go off and be promiscuous. And I said to them, if my daughter needs an excuse to go be promiscuous, she'll find it somewhere. It doesn't have to be me saying that this is what I did. Well, my daughter didn't have an excuse, and she was one of the finest people, and still is, ever, and she didn't go off the deep end because I was honest. In fact, I think because I was honest, I had some credibility with her, and it kept her from a lot of pain. So if you think that their exposure to him is going to be an introduction to a world you don't want them to be part of, that is a mistake, because social media, or as I call it, anti-social media, is teaching
really
them whatever you feel, that's what you are. Whatever emotion or attraction you have, that's your identity. You must go with it. And if you're not jumping in there deep and talking about that and processing that, talking to your kids about what happened to your brother, things like that, you're really going to lose them, I believe, or you have the potential to lose them. I would love your brother. I would not ever feel like loving him is endorsing him. I guarantee you he's not going to think that. And just be the best guy you can be to him. Don't be the excuse for him to reject anybody that has a Christian faith. How's that sound to you? Charlie?
Did we lose him?
I think we lost him.
It's good.
Charlie, how does
There
that sound
he
to
is,
you?
there he is, yeah.
How does that sound to you, Charlie?
That sounds great. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Like I said, I think there's a little more to the story, but I think that's a good place to start. So.
And you know what? It's all more complicated than we
Right.
could ever address here. We know that, and God bless you there.
And Charlie, and anyone who's listening, it doesn't have to be this issue. The call to love is really a challenge because we're not going to line up with everybody that we're related to or that we are in relationship with, but we are called to love. And that can be the hardest thing for us. But just know that there's not the perfect situation. I just was talking to somebody earlier today. They were like, I wish my husband was more like my best friend who I get along with so great. I'm like, well, that's never going to happen because it's your husband and it's not your best friend. And so we have to work at some of these closer relationships. And I love what Steve had to share, Charlie, and I hope that's encouraging to you.
In loving like Jesus, can you imagine how challenging it was for Jesus to love people who thought differently than him, behaved differently than him, and believed differently than him?
Well, how about loving people that nailed him to a cross?
Exactly.
Right.
That must not have been too easy.
Or even represented him differently than how he wanted to be represented. The religious leaders were the worst ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to say is just be to him the way you would want him to be to you if the same thing had happened to you. By the way, Becky, I would be telling that person, why don't you be the best friend to your husband?
There you go.
And see what kind of impact that has. Because when you're somebody's best friend, you're certainly not criticizing them all the time.
That's right.
Or very much, You're encouraging them. You're there for them.
Yeah. A lot of our spouses are the bug under the microscope, right? Like we know where to look for the faults.
What in the world does that mean? Oh, got it. Okay.
Well, think about it. Like, if you're inspecting, a microscope or a bug under a microscope slide, you're seeing all the details, the stuff that you never would see from a distance. And, we don't need that. We, obviously we do need to be open and honest with our spouses, but also using grace and mercy as well.
Well, it's true. We look at our own spouse through a microscope, and we look at everybody else's spouse through a kaleidoscope. And it's just all colors and fun. And it's not that way when you get down in there.
That's good, Steve.
All right,
That's a quote.
Let's go to Lucy from Los Angeles, California. KKLA. Lucy, you are on. Becky Brown, Chris Williams, Steve Arterburn. How you doing here today?
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Well, you're welcome. We're glad you're here.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is it?
I was the last caller yesterday, and I was grateful for the messages that you gave to the lady ahead of me about a daughter-in-law who was difficult. And I went for 17 years with a mother-in-law who never accepted me ever. And what you said about her reaching out to her daughter-in-law and more as a friend and trying to be supportive and understanding, that just erased the hurt I felt for 17 years trying to please them. And it was horrible. And it took me a long time to realize that, why was I bending over backwards to do all that? They never were going to, but I could stop it for myself and realize that I did the best I could.
Yes. That's
Anyway,
right.
I'm calling today. Thank you for that. I'm calling today because I now know for sure that there's someone in my life who's actually dangerous for me to be involved with. And I want to know, what do I do or say to them when they contact me? And what can I say when they try to get involved with people I know, or they're already involved with people I know, manipulating them in the same way?
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go to a break here. What kind of danger are we talking about? Is it physical, violence, or just emotional, or what?
It's emotional. There's a lot of screaming. And,
okay.
Eventually, I turn on myself because it's so painful, and I've been suicidal and not good.
My goodness.
That's
All right.
where I feel powerless, actually.
I'm so sorry. All right, we'll give you some help right after this. Hang on. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you need some help. We love you, and we love getting to help. We'll be back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. We're talking with Lucy, and I'm just going to turn this over to you, Becky. Lucy has somebody that is dangerous to be around. I don't know if Lucy can tell us who that is, but man,
well, I was gonna ask Lucy, is this a person that lives with you?
No.
Okay.
It's my brother.
Okay. See, that was going to be my next question: is are they related to you? And there's this theme of how do we get along with those that are closest to us, and it sounds like there's probably been history. If you have somebody who is unsafe, you can put up some boundaries so that you maintain your own safety. And it's not going to feel good all the time, which is what I think gets confusing for when we do set up boundaries. We think that setting up a boundary, we're going to feel good about it. It's going to go well. And the reality is it's going to be making a really difficult choice because of the difficulty you're dealing with. So, for example, with your brother, I would probably let all of his calls go straight to voicemail. And then you can decide when you're going to call him back. I mean, that's a simple boundary, but it will maintain some distance and it will lessen the reactivity, because it sounds like once you guys get into it, he starts and you react and it's very painful. I would also say, if you've gotten to the place where this has been so painful that you become, you start thinking about hurting yourself, this is where you really need some help processing this relationship, Lucy. And I would encourage you to sit with a counselor. But, if your brother doesn't live with you, you can make the choice to be detached. And I know everyone's going to be like, oh gosh, it's your brother. But here's the reality. If he's not going to take responsibility for the way he's treating you, he's not to be, you don't want to give him the space to be around him. So, make some boundaries, put some boundaries in place, and then come to the place where you accept that this is just the way that it is.
Yeah. And to echo that, Becky, so Lucy, I really like and appreciated that you used the word powerless. I'm powerless against his emotional and verbal abuse. So that when he's around, think of yourself with a power cord, and it's an energy source. So if you plug into your brother, it rips energy and power from you. So that doesn't work. So you're not going to plug into him anymore. Instead, you're going to plug into life-giving sources.
Lord.
Yes. And healthy relationship and healthy people. And counseling, as Becky was saying, good therapeutic work can help us do that, because our stuck pain, ironically, keeps us plugging back into pain. And when we move through that into healing, we learn how to plug into healthier sources.
Yeah. I've spent many, many decades working on the issues, first with my parents, and then I just didn't expect to have to go through this with my little brother.
I know, and it's tough. And one of the things that's not talked about enough, I think because it is hard and it's difficult, as Becky, you were saying, man, this is heavy lifting, is oftentimes boundaries and detachment will come with grief. And we fear the grief, so we don't set the boundary and get healthy. Grief, although it's hard and difficult, can be our friend, because it can lead us to something else. Jesus shows us that. There's death on a Friday, but there's life on Sunday. And to get to that life on Sunday, sometimes you got to put something else, something that's not healthy. And I shared in an earlier show that just this verse from Psalm 34, it talks about those who turn to the Lord, their faces are never covered in shame. But then it goes on further down in verse 14, and it says, turn from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. And not only turn from evil within ourselves, but man, let's not partner with the evil of other people. And let's seek that which is good, so that we can increase peace in our life, the peace that we're really seeking.
Well, right. Also, and Lucy, you don't need to be the warning signal for him either. You asked about telling others, that's not your job.
No, it isn't. And
they'll learn by themselves, right?
That's right.
Yes. And you've read Take Your Life Back. Is that right or not? Have you read Take Your Life Back? Where did Lucy go?
Well, I would send it to her, even if she has, maybe,
Lucy, have you read Take Your Life Back?
No, I haven't.
Right, I'm going to send that to you, because it is all about how do we respond appropriately rather than react inappropriately to people that are, very much like your brother. I hope that you'll like that. Anybody else, you can get that and many other resources at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You are never stronger than when you are admitting your limitation and God's unlimited power for whatever it is that you're struggling with. And that's when life begins to change. When I humble down, as my wife says, humble down and start to experience what God has for me. You can try to control somebody, con somebody. You can compare everything that comes along. It's not the peace that God wants for you. Jesus is the Prince of Peace that Chris was talking about. And so Satan would love to do anything to destroy your peace, so that maybe you would think Jesus isn't really the Prince of Peace since you don't have it. It is Satan's attempt on your life to use anything he can to destroy the peace that our Prince paid his life for. We'll be back right after this.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Southern California February 25th to the 27th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online to newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Larry Sonnenberg's in the studio right now, and he always has a few words of wisdom and some great things to share with us about what's going on at New Life. Larry, what do you have for us today?
Well, Steve, my words of wisdom today are if you've got adult kids, you need to come to a workshop next week on the 29th of January.
Yeah.
One day online, Steve Arterburn, Jim Burns,
Jill
Hubbard, Richard Watts. It's going to be quite a workshop, and the need is so great. I'm telling you, the number of people that we get calling this radio show, the number of people that call us individually, say, what do I do? My kid is doing this or that, or I don't know how to deal with it. Folks, you're going to get a wealth of information in just 8 or 10 hours. I forget how long it is.
And, Larry, there's a special need that's going to be met, too. I was just looking over the questions that Jill Hubbard, we're going to do a little interview there. And for the single parent of adult children, there are some really unique things going on there, such as what happens when I want to get married again. I also want to be close to my grandkids, but these kids of mine don't want me to remarry. Or what happens if my only option is to live with one of these adult children? What are the guidelines? Or what about when one of them wants to come live with me as a single adult mom here? So we've got some great concepts that she's going to be covering in there. But we're dealing with so many areas of conflict. And if you've listened to the program over the past 6 months, you have heard call after call about adult children problems. It's really rampant. You're not alone.
Well, and they'll have the breakout groups with the counselor too.
Yeah.
And I think that will give you so much more support, because so many of the parents think this is only happening in our house. And how in the world did we get here? I raised them to be something different than what they are. And we have this big divide in our home. And I just think it's going to be an amazing day. And we just would love for you to be there.
Navigating life today is difficult, period. But
Amen.
That's right.
And the problems that kids are facing these days, I call them kids, they might be 40-year-old adults.
Yeah,
but they're facing problems that a generation ago nobody ever had to face.
Right. And we can help you with it. We can help you help them. It's really going to be a great day, and you can find out about it at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And the reason you bring these things up, Larry, is we can't do them without the support of our faithful supporters, and we're so grateful when we are supported by folks.
And last thought is, please sign up soon, because when we get to a certain number, we're going to be done, and we're not that far away from that number. So give us a call.
That's right. When you do give, we will send you a copy of the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional. When you join Club New Life, here's what we send you. We send you a Life Recovery Bible, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, a New Life Journal, which directs your journaling, a New Life pen, which almost writes for itself, a highlighter, and a really cool zippered tote bag, maybe the best bag we've ever given away. All of that for saying thank you for being part of Club New Life. And boy, this is a great month to sign up and then just do it the rest of the year. $30 a month. That's the minimum right there.
Steve, I want to challenge our current Club New Life members, especially the ones that have been giving the same amount for 5 or 10 years. Would you up your amount of giving by maybe 5 or 10%?
That would be
gift.
Great.
Just call and say, hey, I've been giving $30 since this thing began. Now, I'd like to give 35. Or if you can give it 100, I'll give you 110 or 20. Just anything you can do to help would be great. So
all of you listening except my mother, please, please help us with inflation. And my mom, she is something else. Loves this program.
She is the best. We love Clara.
She is. I forget how long she's been a Club New Life member, but it's over a decade, probably.
I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I want to talk to Phyllis from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. WBYN. That's the station that she tunes into. Phyllis, how are you today, and how could we help?
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. So I've been married for 13 years, together for 16. Both heroin addicts, and over the years, my husband's had multiple relapses. Every time he gets caught, I've always given ultimatums. You have to go. We have 2 kids who are now almost both in their they're almost both teenagers. So this last time, I wasn't angry. Been really focusing and working with the therapist on codependency. I feel like I'm in this limbo where I'm not giving him ultimatums. I don't want to manufacture him getting better for him to hold on just to do it again. And I feel like I'm in between a rock and a hard place.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this and see if this is true for you. Many times when a person is married to a relapser, they're giving the wrong ultimatum at the wrong time for the wrong thing. So here's what I'm talking about. So when he has a relapse and then he comes out of that relapse, maybe he gets, how does he, when last time he unrelapsed or got treatment, what happened? How did he get clean?
Okay, so a couple months ago, I discovered he was drinking, and we'd both been working with a therapist, and we came up with a plan. He agreed to a very short detox. We took advantage of that.
Good.
And put together a very big list of things that must happen.
Okay.
And if there was any kind of anything against it, then it was long-term facility.
Okay. And so he messed up, and so what happened with him not going to the long-term facility?
So I know it sounds sad on my end, and he was caught taking a prescription that wasn't his, that was my son's, that he was trying to get off of because he didn't want to take it. So he was replacing it then with something that wasn't that particular prescription. And so I just really, to tell the kids he was sorry, and
So see, that's when the ultimatum should have taken place. Because that would be like somebody addicted to pornography, and then those pictures were my child's, or hey, listen, it's his problem. The last thing he should have done is anything without you knowing it, and when he did it, that is where you say, okay, it didn't work out. You have to go to long-term treatment.
Right. And Phyllis, do you hear the gymnastics that you're doing in your head? Do you know what I mean by that?
I know.
Yeah, I know. If you've
It's
been
a
working
flip-flop.
your own, if you're working your own sobriety and your own recovery, you can pick out all of the excuses that you made for him, as opposed to doing the really difficult thing, saying you're going to go to long-term treatment. And I think, go ahead.
But to that point, because I think this is all heading in the wrong emotional direction.
There you go.
Okay, because all of this has been, you've been married 13 years, been together 16. He has multiple relapses. He has a recent relapse. So it's all, how do I get him sober? How do I get him sober? How do I get him sober? All of that goes against the first principle of addiction, and that you're powerless. It's the wrong question.
Right.
Well, my question is, what's grace like for my kids right now? What does that look like?
Hold on.
Not this.
Grace looks like looks like less chaos, more peace, more stability.
Great. But it isn't saying, out of grace, I'm not going to have a consequence for your behavior. No, you wouldn't do that with your kids. You wouldn't, if they ran out in the street, you wouldn't say...
The most absolutely graceful thing for your kids right now is for your husband to get better, to go to treatment, to address the problem. That is, that to me. So Phyllis, in all of this, as you're hearing my energy, is that I want you to be able to say, not what does he need?
Right.
Because he's not honest. And he won't be in recovery until he gets brutally honest. That is a danger sign that says he's in his addiction. You and your boys need, or you and your kids need protection, so that you can create a more peaceful, predictable life for them.
And the grace that you're going to give to them is, when he has to go to long-term treatment, you are present, you are current with them, you are helping them through this difficulty, with the hope that your husband will be in full recovery forever, like that he'll get clean and sober and stay there.
Here's a really sad thing. Talk to you about why. But if you don't do the right thing, the kids, they'll be mad at you, not him.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Southern California February 11th to the 13th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Mylan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. It just happens over and over again, I'm sorry to say, Phyllis, but when you don't go to work on you and start to do the things that are going to be helpful, that aren't enabling or allowing, the kids end up so angry at you. And it's like they think, well, why didn't Mom do more? Why didn't she do that? And it's almost like they treat the guy with the problem as the victim. I mean, it's really not fair, but it happens. And, you know, I'll send you Take Your Life Back. I'm going to send you a Life Recovery Bible. I'm going to send you Understanding and Loving a Person with Alcohol and Drug Addiction. All this stuff that you know, because you've got your own issues, you've dealt with your own recovery. But all of this has to be combined. All the things that you know have to be combined with this one thing called willingness. Willingness to do something you've never done before. Willingness to do things that hurt you. And Phyllis, you can be hurt. You can choose to do things that are painful. You'll survive it. You've done it before. You know that. So don't give in to the feeling, and don't give in to anything out of a false grace concept. It just doesn't apply.
And real quickly, to Steve's point, the strongest message we can tell an addicted person is not if you then.
Right.
The strongest message we can tell an addicted person is I'm going to, and then do it.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yep. You know, and I don't know if you guys thought I was too harsh with Phyllis, but you know, the challenge is when we're in relationship with someone who's struggling with addiction, we will buy into their excuses because somehow their illusion makes sense to us. Their delusion makes sense to us, you know, and so we have to really be connected with healthy people who are familiar with recovery process and be able to be brutally honest or absolutely honest. You know, that's where your freedom is going to be found, Phyllis. And we want the best for your husband.
We do.
You know, we really do. And we want the best for your boys too. And they're watching all of this.
Well, the reason that this thing called addiction is referred to as baffling and cunning is because it's baffling and cunning.
Yes.
It is a force to be reckoned with. It is unbelievably powerful, and it's an entity in and of itself. It has a force and a life, and you either listen to people that have been dealing with it forever, or you don't at your own peril. Let's go to Jane. Jane's from WTRJ, Jacksonville, Florida. And Jane, you're my final caller today. How can we help? I don't have a lot of time, but I did want to get to your call. What's going on?
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking my call. I have married 32 years, have two daughters grown 25, 27, and a son that's 29. And a couple years ago, our 25-year-old daughter came out that, she's no longer, that she was with the same sex, and that, she wasn't a lesbian, she wasn't gay, she was just bisexual. And through the dealing, just with all the shock of that, as Christians and believers, my husband and I just took the stand that, we were going to love her. We were going to just show the love of Christ. And, it made us compromise some of the things that we felt like we were strong in. And then when it comes to...
Like what? What would be a compromise that you made?
Well, we didn't want to bring forth the thought to her that the lifestyle was acceptable, that we were just accepting it. Whatever she wanted to do, that's fine. We'll go along with it. We're trying to put some boundaries in there that, hey, we want to love you. We want to be with you. We don't want to have that relationship broken, but, we're not interested in supporting a same-sex relationship based on our faith value.
Yeah. All right. We better get to the question.
Who we are.
Tell us how we could help you, because we're about out of time.
The question is that we're trying to establish some counseling. My husband and myself, we want faith-based counseling. Our daughters are not interested in faith-based. They feel like it's loaded. It's just a loaded gun against them and what they're doing in their life or their lifestyles. And I'm just wondering, how do you combat that?
Tell them, ask them, let us find the counselor for you. Ask them to give it 2 times and agree that if in those times they feel like the whole thing was set up against them and what they were doing, they don't ever have to come back, because that is not what counseling is all about. We don't bring people in and then say, well, okay, this is obviously wrong and messed up and you have to stop this immediately. That isn't what's going to happen.
What's the goal, Jane? What would be your goal in going to counseling?
Well, being able to see each person. I've been listening for the last hour and a half, so I've heard some great testimonials. But just to be able for all of us to agree that we can all have our own perspective, our own life, our own thoughts, and not have to be attacked for them, because that's where we're at now, is that we can have no relationship with our daughter unless we accept her girlfriend as our family.
Yeah. So here's what I would be saying to her. I would say, honey, you're wanting us to accept you no matter what you believe or do. And we absolutely do accept you and love you. I think you've heard that. But it goes both ways. You know how we feel and what you believe, and so we need you to accept us and love us no matter how we feel or what we do. And we feel that you're throwing up something that is saying, I reject you unless. And we're never going to reject you unless this or that. And so I really want you to think about, do you accept us? Do you accept us as free people who believe and have been brought up a certain way? Do you accept it and respect it the way you want us to accept and respect you? Please think about it, because we love you and we want to be part of your life. Becky, Chris, you got anything better?
No,
it's tough.
That's
it's hard.
it. Because
that's so good, Steve.
Yeah,
that is so good.
Because Becky, you stole the question right out of my mouth. It was fantastic, and that is, stay with what the purpose is. The purpose is, in the light of this new information and this new reality, we need help on how to be a family.
I love that, Jane, that you have been consistently loving them.
Yes.
You didn't start with, this is making me crazy and we haven't talked in 6 months. That's not how you started it. You said, we want to be in relationships. So I love what Steve said, and I hope you wrote it down. If not, listen to the show again, and that's how you approach it.
And by the way, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to produce any magic, wonderful result. She needs to know that you're going to never, ever abandon or desert her, that she can count on you, and it's not going to be easy, but it can be done. Hey, if you need some help, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Pornography, lust, marriage problems, resentment, bitterness, we have something for you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thank you, Becky and Chris. Love you, appreciate you. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.